It's the 14th of August 2015. I'm Richard Taylor and I'm here outside the Guildhall in Cambridge. Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright has organised a Come and Meet Graham Bright event here this morning. And I've come along to ask him some questions about what he's been doing in the role of Police and Crime Commissioner. Now, I would much prefer to meet Graham Bright in a more suitable situation than in front of the Guildhall. I'd like to meet him indoors, in the dry, and at a formal meeting. But Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright has not been attending the area committees in Cambridge. He promised that he would attend each one of them once a year. He's attended each one of them once and hasn't returned, so he's not been making good on that promise. Our Police and Crime Commissioner here in Cambridgeshire, Graham Bright, has not been holding the kind of public meetings that are seen elsewhere in the country, where the Police and Crime Commissioner allows members of the public to ask questions of them and of chief officers. Our Police and Crime Commissioner does attend some public meetings and council meetings around the county, but when he does so, he doesn't publish details of those on his website. So it's very difficult for people to find out where he will be attending, and so it's difficult for people to know where they should go if they want to ask him about his role and hold him to account for his performance. Now, I think that there is a serious risk of arrest this morning. I could be seen as harassing the Police and Crime Commissioner by simply asking him questions here on the Market Square. I could be seen as committing an antisocial behaviour offence or a public order offence. So I've come along. I haven't brought my laptop or my mobile phone in the interests of preserving the privacy of myself and others and protecting my own and others' personal information should I be arrested. We have a system now in this country where an arrest has to be justified. It has to be shown to be necessary. So I've brought my passport along so I can demonstrate who I am, so that I should not be arrested on the basis that the police need to determine my identity. So I hope to be able to ask Police and Crime Commissioner Bright some fairly simple questions. The first one on my list is simply, what has he done? I'd like to know what the Police and Crime Commissioner has done, other than his cadet scheme and appointing public relations and communications staff, that's actually on his own initiative, that's not just approving a recommendation from the Chief Constable or from his staff. What has he actually done in the role? I think that's a really straightforward question, and I hope that the Police and Crime Commissioner can actually answer that for me. I also hope to push something that I've been lobbying for at the local police priority setting meetings in Cambridge, which is better information for the councillors who are setting those priorities. At the moment, they set the priorities without information on motoring crimes and without information on harm that crime is doing, without information on injuries and the costs of crime. So I'd like to ask the Commissioner again, I've asked him before, if he can help councillors, because all the area committees around Cambridge have asked for better information on which to base their priority setting. So I'm going to ask the Commissioner again if he will help me on that. I'd also like to ask the Commissioner about the practice under him of burglars being offered out-of-court options, out-of-court disposals, rather than being taken to court. I'd like to encourage the Commissioner to get his out-of-court disposal scrutiny panel to look at some cases of burglary, because they've not done that yet. And I want that panel to be operating in such a way that it can give me and the Commissioner and the wider public confidence that when the decision is made to go for an out-of-court option, especially in a serious case of a serious crime like burglary, that is justified and sensible. I'd also like to ask the Police and Crime Commissioner this morning about the process of appointing the new Chief Constable. He's proposing Alec Wood. I'd like to know, well, why does he think Alec Wood is the right person for the job? And I'd also like to ask him about the process. What role has the Police and Crime panel had? They'd asked to be involved at an early stage. And I'd like to know who was on the interview panel. I've been told that Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright has interviewed some candidates. Who was he sitting alongside when he was doing that? Was it people from the Inspectorate of Constabulary? Was it people from the Home Office? Perhaps he involved some of our local elected representatives, or maybe members of his party. I just don't know, and I'd like to find out. Now, Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright has also said that he wants to differentiate himself from the police. As part of that, he separated himself by putting his office in Cambourne away from police headquarters in Huntingdon. Now, this morning, he is appearing alongside police officers. Now, that perhaps isn't too unreasonable, but given his clear stance to separate himself, I think it's a bit unusual. If I want to contact the Police and Crime Commissioner, I have to use an email address which is at the police's email domain. So he hasn't separated himself in that key way. It seems to be spending a lot of money on the show of moving himself to Cambourne, but I want to know whether it's actually genuine. A key question I want to put to the Police and Crime Commissioner is on the costs of his office. Now, when the Police Authority was running things, they spent £347,000 a year on staff. He now spends almost 3 times that amount. Now, he does do a little bit more, he does some administration of grants, but that's no excuse, as far as I can tell, for the almost 3 times increase in the amount that he's spending on staff. When I spoke to him here on the Market Square just before his election in November 2012, he told me that he would cost less and have fewer staff. I want to ask him why he hasn't been able to make good on that pre-election promise. Another promise that Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright has made, this time to the Police and Crime Panel, relates to his alert system. He said that that system will enable people to find out what crimes have occurred in their area on the previous night or in the previous week. And as yet, that doesn't seem to be working. We don't seem to have that kind of comprehensive coverage. And I'd like to find out why not. I want to find out how the Police and Crime Commissioner goes about commissioning such things. And I'm worried that he's susceptible to travelling salespeople. I want to know whether he actually thought about the specifications of what he wanted and went out to tender, or whether somebody just approached him with some kind of website and he went with it and threw our money at that. I'd also like to ask him about his commissioning of Microsoft to do the Force's IT. I think the key question there is if all the Force's information is tied up in a proprietary format, or if a new Police and Crime Commissioner would be able to move to another service provider seamlessly. Right, so that's why I'm here this morning, and that's why I'm taking the approach that I'm doing, and I'm here a few minutes early and I'm awaiting Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright. So I was wondering what Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright might do in the case of rain. It seems that he's brought along a mobile police office, so I imagine he may be inviting people to sit inside and speak to him. So it is now 11 o'clock, the bells at Great St Mary's are chiming on the hour, and I've not seen any sign of Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright. He said that today's Come and Meet Graham Bright event would start at 11 o'clock. He doesn't seem to be here. The man himself, Police and Crime Commissioner Graham Bright, has now appeared. The police constable who's accompanying him this morning has brought a full range of police headwear, which he's allowing children to try on, which I think is a fantastic idea. I think I'll just wait for the Police and Crime Commissioner and the constable to finish playing about with the police headwear and go across and speak to him. Hello, Commissioner. Well, welcome to Cambridge. Thank you for coming and allowing members of Cambridge to come and speak to you about your role. Can I ask you a few questions? It's doing what you're here for this morning, isn't it?
Well, I'm here to speak to the public.
Yeah, I'm a resident of Cambridge.
I'd appreciate if I'm speaking to anyone, have that off.
Well, I can get. It's confidential. You're in public here, Commissioner. In the Market Square.
If I'm speaking to the public, it's confidential between me and them.
Well, I'd like to speak to you in slightly different terms, then perhaps about your policies and about what you've been doing. So, what have you done in your role, Commissioner? Is there anything you can point to that you've done, which you've instigated? So, apart from the cadet scheme and appointing more PR officers, is there something you've instigated that isn't something that just the Chief Constable's recommended or your staff have recommended?
The biggest thing is the Victims Hub, which is an enormous operation.
So that's your own idea, was it?
It was my idea,
right.
And we were the first constabulary in the country to have it. It's really working. We're dealing with hundreds, in fact thousands more people than were being dealt with before. And the idea has been picked up by other police authorities.
They're Police and Crime Commissioners now, you've replaced police authorities.
Well, other police organisations. Vera Baird, who's a Labour member, came and looked at it, picked the whole thing up and planted it in Newcastle. The same has happened.
So what does it do,
Cheshire.
Commissioner? I don't know what it does. What is it?
Well, I'm surprised you don't know, because you seem to sort of delve into everything.
Well, it's very difficult to find out what you're up to, Commissioner. So this is your flagship thing. I don't know what it is.
I've said to you before, I thought you were illiterate. It's all on our website.
So you can't simply summarise in a couple of sentences what this Victims Hub is about.
It helps victims. Right. We look after victims first and care for vulnerable. Right. And if anyone is a victim of a crime,
so something I've wondered about this focus. I feel that I am, well, not a victim, but I suffer from burglaries just because I live in an area where there's relatively high burglary rates. Why is there a focus on people who've been burgled as opposed to all of us?
There's a focus on every single crime. We're not picking and choosing. A crime is a crime. Police investigate it. And if you are a victim, then you are offered the services of a victim hub. Before we set that up, there was only a couple of hundred at most. Now it's everybody. And there's been some incredible successes.
A couple of hundred victims get contacted by the police or got contact beforehand?
By victim support.
By victim support.
But now it's all in one place. So Victims Hub incorporates the county council and their services, voluntary organisations. I put 3 psychiatric nurses in there because often people are very frightened that they need to have the right person to talk to them. So that's all there.
So I was burgled before you became Police and Crime Commissioner, and just to let you know, I found the contact with someone who'd been burgled sort of quite formulaic and a bit silly. And they did call me regularly to say we're still sort of trying to investigate this. So they gave me an update on what I've done. But I found that the officers who were sort of charged with going through the sheet of calling up people, they didn't really have an update to give. And kind of tells you
you're talking about history. What we've got now.
I just want to let you know what my experience was beforehand.
It is a much better experience for everybody.
So something I've asked you about before is we've got local police priority setting in Cambridge by our local councillors, and all the area committees around Cambridge have said that they'd like to have better information on which to base the priority setting. At the moment they don't have any information on harm, on injuries caused, on the costs of crime, and also they don't even have information on motoring offences. And I asked you at the North Area Committee if you would support the councillors who want to get better information.
Police attend those and they can ask them.
And they do regularly.
That's fine, that's what it's all about.
But they won't provide the information that's being requested. They won't, for example, provide a breakdown of violent crime into domestic and
I'm only hearing what you say, and bearing in mind what's been said about you in the last few days. I don't necessarily believe you. All right?
Well, you've actually been to the North Area Committee with me there, and you've heard the request actually came from the council. It's actually in all the minutes of all these police priority settings, and you've actually said
there's nothing secret.
So they are coming to you.
Nothing secret.
So can we get this better information on injuries and on the breakdown of violent crime?
Do it through that committee, yes.
Well, they've been asking now for a number of years. The South Area Committee's now been asking for 3 years or so.
And you need to talk to the police because they're the operational part of the organisation.
And they are not doing
I'm not.
So,
if they're not...
So I'm coming to you now because the police are not consistently over a matter of years, despite our elected representatives clearly asking for it.
Maybe we can look at that. And I should do so with the committee, not with you.
So will you come back to some of the area committees then? You said you would be attending the area committees once a year. You've come to each of them once and you haven't come back. So will you come back to deal with this particular issue?
I shall be. But not necessarily with that particular issue, because there's some other issues as well. I mean, I don't know, you set your own agenda, not mine.
I do, my agenda is a safer city.
And that is exactly where I come from. That's exactly what we're doing.
You've talked about focus on burglary.
I talk about big things.
I was about to speak about burglary.
Silly things, right? I've managed to keep the same number of police. We haven't got rid of the front line. And we've saved money. We've saved money. And we're getting more specials in as well, so we're keeping visibility up there. In fact, there's 30% more visibility than it was because of the technology we've introduced, and that's what people are asking for.
Right? Like, you've also talked about a focus on burglary.
I want to talk to the
Why
public.
do some burglars not go to court? Why do you deal with them without out-of-court settlement? Well, under you, it happens. And your scrutiny committee, the out-of-court disposal scrutiny committee, hasn't yet considered any of these cases
It's
of
the
burglars.
prosecution service that do that.
No, it's the police force decides to deal with some people. Out-of-court disposal. That's a police decision.
If that's a minor thing, that's a good thing. It stops clattering up the courts.
So some burglary can be a minor thing. And the problem is that some burglars are being offered out-of-court disposal. But what I'd like to ask you to do, Commissioner, is ask your out-of-court disposal scrutiny committee to look at some of these cases of burglars being offered out-of-court disposals, so that you and I and the wider public can have some assurance that the out-of-court disposals are being used in appropriate cases.
I mean, the whole process of that is being sort of looked at the moment. As you know, the MOJ have changed everything, and we're taking on. We're also working with Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, and Northamptonshire for dealing with these matters.
So what do you think of my idea of actually looking at getting the committee to look at some of these burglary cases?
Well, yes, I hear what you say, but I mean, it's an operational matter. And as you know, I'm prohibited from getting involved. I'm prohibited to get involved in operations. I can ask questions, and we do. And we do.
You don't personally take, you send one of your staff in your place. You could go in person, so send one of your staff, and you could put forward the suggestion that instead of the random dip sampling, which has not yet hit a burglary case, you could say, a member of the public has come to me in Cambridge, he's concerned about burglary being dealt with out of court. Can we have a look at the cases of burglars that are being dealt with?
It doesn't take me to monitor sponsor it.
But it hasn't happened yet.
That's what I have an office for. That's why I have an office for.
I'm telling you, it hasn't happened yet, Commissioner.
I wouldn't believe the thing you said to me anyway.
Well, it's all referenced. The FOI requests that I've made for the activity of the out-of-court disclosure scrutiny panel are all on the website watchtheyknow.com, so you can go and read them as well, because you haven't proactively published them, as with a lot of the information that comes out of the that's in your office. So it's made it quite difficult to follow the out-of-court scrutiny process.
Hello, Charles. I'm here to talk to the public, and I've got this man who is the public talking to me.
Hi there, Richard.
All right. So can I ask you, did you interview the Chief Constable candidates along with a panel of people?
We issued a statement on that, and I'm not saying any more about it.
So it doesn't say what role you had in the process. What role did you have in the process so far?
We've issued a statement, and I'm not saying any more about it. It's up to the panel.
So it doesn't say whether you've interviewed the candidates. Have you interviewed some candidates?
We issued a statement.
It doesn't tell me whether you've interviewed any candidates.
We issued a
I'm
statement.
John Hopper. Hi, John.
Get the chart.
Quite clearly.
It doesn't make you look like you're in control. It says that the whole process was overseen by the College of Policing. What did you do in this process, Commissioner?
The College of Policing was appointed by us to make sure the whole thing was done in the right way.
So you delegated it all, did you? Did they do
The panel understood it. Now, I've said what I've said. I'm saying no more.
How many people have you interviewed for the role of Chief Constable, Commissioner?
I'm not saying
Who
any more.
sat with you on the interview panel?
I said we're not saying any more.
Was the Inspector of Constabulary there, Commissioner? Any representatives of central government there, Commissioner? Any councillors, local elected representatives there with you?
The gentleman has indicated
We've made a statement, that's the end.
Would you like to stop me from continuing to ask him questions? I'd like to carry on. I've only got a few more questions.
Do you want to ask me anything? But I'm not doing
No, not really. He's the elected representative who I want to ask my questions
there will
to.
be a full report going to the police and crime.
Absolutely, police and crime.
Just straightforwardly, why Alec Wood? That question wasn't answered in your statement.
I've said all I'm going to say.
So you
We've
won't
made a
tell us
statement.
why Alec Wood is the right
The
man for the
process
job.
is not over yet, for goodness sake. You should know that. You obviously don't.
Well, if I was publishing the statement that you've done, that's proposing a new Chief Constable, I would say why he was the right man for the
It's
job.
recommended.
Who by? Who recommended him to you, Commissioner?
The process is not over.
Who recommended Alec Wood to you,
The
Commissioner?
process is not over.
Oh, you mean you've recommended him so far? You're
The
saying you
process
proposed him?
is not over.
Well, I think
up
I've
to the panel.
asked some reasonable questions there. Now, I'd like to ask you about your staffing levels, Commissioner. Now, when you took over from the Police Authority, they were spending £347,000 a year on staff. You're now spending almost 3 times that, £962,000.
As you know, and I've said so many times, we've taken over other operations.
So you give away some grants now, you have to administer some grants. But that doesn't
That's what
explain...
you didn't ask me that. You said about that the
Well,
number
why
of
the extra
staff.
staff, yes.
Because we've taken over the states, we've taken over public contact, we're now taking it over, we've taken over finance. These are all extra people that we took away from the force, so they came onto our side. But you know what someone like you ought to look at, and I know you're incapable of doing so, is you look at the bottom line. Bottom line, we've saved £4.9 million. That's what you've got to worry about.
Well,
Not the fact I spent another $200,000 in doing so.
I came here in November 2012 and you made a clear pre-election promise to cost less and to have fewer staff. And I'm just coming here now, a couple of years on, so why haven't you been able to make good on
Saving
that promise?
£4.9 million and not setting a precept is seriously good news.
So you're not too bothered about the fact that key pre-election promise has been massively broken?
We were there to save money. We've saved £4.9 million this last year. We didn't put a precept on.
Now,
That helps the public.
you've asked the people like me who are looking at your office expenses to remove from those expenses all the grant money that you've had.
Absolutely right.
Now,
That was-
however,
we were just the
you are
distributor.
holding a lot of undistributed grants, and you've asked us to take the money that you are holding off your expenses. I think that's highly misleading. Why did you do that, Commissioner? Well, you did do that, Commissioner. You've asked us to take the whole 1.2 million off when you've only actually distributed 1.6 million of grants.
How are you?
So that leaves what you call your net office expenditure reduced.
All of
by
that
the
will
amount
be
that you're held.
distributed. All of that will be distributed. It's
Right.
not
So
for
once
us
you've
to keep it.
distributed it, that bottom line figure, that net expenditure, then goes up by about £168,000. You've been highly misleading over this, in my view.
It's just that
Do
you
you
can't.
understand the
It's just that
issue?
you can't read accounts.
No,
And
I
actually,
think
neither
the failures come with
neither
it.
can the Taxpayers Alliance. I mean, I'm
No, I agree.
amazed that they made the mistake they made.
The Taxpayers Alliance were unclear. However, your statement was also terribly unclear in the other direction, because you asked us to reduce your office expenditure by the amount of undistributed grants, which of course, just because you're holding some undistributed grants doesn't mean that you're any cheaper, that you're any more efficient.
I'm not pretending to be any cheaper. I'm looking at the bottom line.
I think you did actually make a statement that you thought you achieved.
£4.9 million saved. Now, you couldn't even comprehend that because
I think what
you're not able to
done,
comprehend it.
is you've approved
And the
some
fact that we've
proposals.
kept the same number of police on the front line,
I'm not
and the
saying
fact that we didn't have a preset this year.
you do, but you are still charging us for the police. You don't mean no rise.
That's right.
There's a difference. You are still.
We did that. Yeah, that's it. No more.
Richard Beats, he is
Hang on.
here to talk to more people. I
No
appreciate
more. You're keeping people away from
So you've
you.
appointed
You're
Microsoft
keeping
Commissioner.
people away from you.
Two quick questions. Now, is the information that's within the Microsoft contract, is that all in a proprietary format, or could a new Police and Crime Commissioner easily move that to another supplier?
That's up to if there is a new police and crime.
No, but is the information tied up with Microsoft? Have you got us into a situation where it might be really difficult to use a new supplier there?
Without looking at
You
those
don't
terms, I
know. You don't look at that kind of detail. That's to me. That would be a key question to ask when awarding that contract. So, Commissioner, on the alert system, you told the Police and Crime Panel that we would be able to go, everyone in Cambridge would be able to go online and find out what crimes occurred in our areas the previous night and the previous week. That's not something.
And you can.
I don't think I can. There's no comprehensive police log available to me of what happened in North Cambridge last night. What we're seeing is a very patchy service. So in some places there's some great service where the local police officers will actually give details of sort of the burglaries that have happened, how they've happened, and enable people to protect themselves. But that doesn't seem to be available to me.
Do you go onto all the boxes?
Yes, I've been.
What does that tell you?
Well, as I've said, it's
tells you everything you're asking.
it's sometimes in South Cambridge, for example, we've had some very specific cases of restrictions.
Sorry, where do you live at?
I live in North Cambridge, but I'd like to ask the elected representative who's accountable for this contract. Like, something Commissioner, I'm worried about is that that you're very
You've had
susceptible
enough.
to-
You've been here. We're 20 minutes.
No,
The public.
you didn't turn up for 10 minutes.
The
into
public.
session.
I was here on time. The
You
public.
were not here on time, Commissioner.
I was here on time.
We'll stay extra
Look,
for you.
Anyway.
I want
so
to talk to the
how-
public, not to you. So finish.
I am
Okay.
the public,
Turn that thing round.
You've had a good turn.
Now, I want to talk to the public. Please go away. So I
I think after one more question.
Can I ask one more question? So another key plank of your candidacy was to say that you were going to separate yourself from the police, and you spent a lot of money doing that by putting your office in Camborne, Commissioner. Now,
not a lot.
is that?
I don't understand.
But have you successfully got that division?
Absolutely right. Yes.
The email address that you published to contact you is a police email address, and your IT systems are they distinct, or is the separation all for show, or is
Communication system is totally different. The fact that my office and I am not in police headquarters, I have to hold them to account. And if you're holding them to account, you can't do that when you're having coffee with them in the canteen or walking in the same building. It was absolutely essential. And I wasn't the only commissioner to do that. And I think it's right that we've done it. There is a respect between the Police and Crime Commissioner's office and the
so?
Conservative.
Is it symbolic? And my concern
It's
is.
not symbolic, it's
But,
a
but
reality.
why is your email address then still a police.uk email address?
That's just a detail.
Well, it's not a detail. If
It
I
is.
want to contact you, I can't contact you directly as an individual, other than by coming here
We
today.
use that because of security. All right?
So you,
There are practical reasons for having
There
a
are very
police.
practical
In terms of you have to have restricted, protected, different levels of security, which you can't access.
but the Police and Crime Commissioner could deal with the public on his own Twitter account, for example, the one that he deleted straight after the election, or he could deal with the public on his own domain. It's only a question as to whether it's symbolic or
I'm
genuine.
held to account by me, and the one thing I didn't want to do was to go native with them in the headquarters, and I haven't. And my staff also hold to account. And if they're all working together, it will be difficult to do it. It was the right move.
You're not obviously not concerned about the IT systems and the email
because
being
that's
good.
just-
We have a separate isolated system that only we can access, and the force can't. So we have our own protected area.
So the police cannot or do not obtain an email that I write to the Commissioner.
Not unless we pass it on to them.
It's entirely routed separately.
Unless we pass it on to them.
They can't see our systems, they can't get our emails.
Very interesting. Thank you very much,
Right?
Commissioner. Thank you.
Okay, well done.